The black cat of the Angels pitching staff is finally gone, and boy, did the Angels respond. We'll talk about roster changes and a 5-3 win on tonight's edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast.
You are Locked On Angels Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
This is the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel and wherever you get the Locked On Angels podcast feed. The Angels win, baby. The Angels win in what turns out to be a heck of a day for the Angels fans. Jose Suarez is gone. The Angels win a baseball game at home. I don't think it can get much better than that. Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls. And welcome to the Locked On Angels Postcast. I'm your host, Gavin Carlson. 4 years as a credentialed journalist in the Los Angeles area, covering UCLA sports with the Daily Bruin, and now a part of the Locked On Sports Podcast Network. On today's show, we will talk about a pretty solid Angels hitting performance. We'll talk about Zach Plesac coming from AAA and being surprisingly good. But of course, we will start with the return of the bullpen after some roster changes that we'll get into. But before we get into any of that, a quick shout out to the sponsor of today's postcast, FanDuel. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And let's get started talking about a great day. We'll get into the roster changes more specifically later, but in case you missed it, the black cat, I'm calling him, of the Angels pitching staff, of the Angels bullpen, even got a start this season. Jose Suarez was finally DFA'd earlier today, along with Cole Tucker, who I have not said many kind words about on the Locked On Angels postcast, but both of them sent down, and who comes up? Brandon Drury, back from injury, immediately inserted into the lineup, and one Zach Plesac, who was not expected to get the start when he was called up, but then all of a sudden, Jose Soriano has some abdominal pain, and Plesac goes from being added to the roster to, hey, buddy, you're starting tonight at the Big A. We'll get to his performance in a second, but look what happens when you get rid of the black cat in the Angels bullpen. The Angels bullpen responds with a pretty solid performance. Luis Garcia, Matt Moore, and Carlos Estevez all coming in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. No runs, just one hit in the 7th inning allowed by Garcia, a walk from Garcia, a walk from Moore, and 3 strikeouts from Luis Garcia, and that's where we start things, folks. We'll get to the runs, we'll get to the start, but for me, the story was that 7th inning, because Luis Garcia comes in after Zach Plesac, solid starting performance, and I'll tell you, I got really excited. Obviously, the Angels have a lead. It's 5-3, and you're thinking, I don't know, at least I was thinking, I'm excited about Plesac, I'm excited about the hitting, but let's not forget, the Angels had a huge bullpen game yesterday, huge being a lot of arms were used. Obviously, we saw Ben Joy start the game. We saw the black cat, Jose Suarez, look awful, cost us the game probably. We saw Hunter Strickland look awful. We saw Carson Fulmer look awful. We saw Marte pitch. We saw a lot of pitchers for the Angels in that game. And so Luis Garcia comes in the 7th and immediately gets himself into all sorts of trouble. And I'm quickly reminded, wait, the Angels don't have many arms available tonight. Sure, they have the 5-3 lead, but surely the Los Angeles Angels of 2024 are going to blow this lead. But no, after a leadoff walk, which, gosh, at this point, it's getting crazy. We'll get to the Plesac start because a leadoff walk burned him early in this game. But a leadoff walk to Rhys Hoskins, then a single from Frelick, and then Frelick steals second, close play at second base. Garcia is able to then strike out Gary Sanchez, strike out Blake Perkins, and strike out Terang to get out of the jam. It was second and third, thanks to the double steal. Hoskins on third, Frelick on second, when Gary Sanchez comes up. And how many times have we seen Luis Garcia come in and cost games? for the Angels, plenty, right? I mean, the ERA for him is still not great, even after this outing. It sits at 4.8. I mean, even though, look at every single ERA here for the Angels. Plesac 4.5, Garcia 4.8, Matt Moore 4.88, and Estevez 3.52. Even with these shutout performance from the bullpen, those ERAs don't look great, which is why this outing is so much more exciting. But like we're saying here, Plesac comes out, Garcia comes in, it's second and third with nobody out. And surely, I don't think I'm alone in thinking that Garcia is going to give up some runs. I think we're all thinking in the top of the seventh. But Gary Sanchez strikes out. He's in for the injured Contreras. And after falling behind 2-0, he throws 2 sinkers, inside corner, gets 2 calls. A pitcher-friendly umpire tonight for sure. But he throws 2 sinkers, inside corner, 2 good pitches. He does not throw a lollipop on 2-0, does not throw a lollipop on 2-1. Instead, 2 pitches on the corners. And then on 2-2, he probably hangs a sweeper, but because it was set up so well with 2 inside sinkers, he gets Sanchez to swing through it. You're like, okay, 1 down. Now in this situation in the past, we've seen, all right, second and third, now it's 1 out. Do you walk the next batter, load the bases, and have a double play opportunity to get out of the inning? The Angels elect to stick with it. Second and third, now 1 out against Blake Perkins, and another great at-bat from Garcia. Fastball right down the middle, or sinker right down the middle. A little scary there. Then he just completely misses on a sinker, but then 2 great splitters. 2 great splitters from Garcia, down and in, 88 miles an hour, swing and a miss, down and in, really just down, 88 miles an hour again, swing and miss again. And at this point, you're thinking, wait a second. Not only does it look like the Angels might protect the 2-run lead, because at this point it was still 5-3, not only are you thinking, okay, the Angels are going to protect the lead, maybe only give up 1 run. Now you're thinking 2 outs, second and third. Could the Angels and Luis Garcia survive this game without giving up any runs? And surely enough, what happens? Garcia realizes what's working and he sticks to it. Hallelujah, Halos. Hallelujah. Know it works. Stick to it and execute. First pitch sinker, fouled off. Throws kind of a crazy pitch, a high and away splitter. Catches the zone. It's 0-2. Now what was working? The low and in splitter. Okay, he throws it, but he completely spikes it. It's fine. Good block by O'Hoppe. Then he throws a 4-seam fastball. I don't know why. It's nowhere near the zone. Whatever. But then on 2-2, what does he do? He goes right back to the splitter. This one down and away. A great pitch against Terang, who already had a home run in this game. Down and away. Swing and a miss. Strike 3, and boom. Garcia goes 1, 2, 3 after giving up the leadoff walk, the then single, the stolen base, second and third, nobody out. All the way from that to 3 straight strikeouts. 3 straight strikeouts. I know technically, statistically, it won't be probably the best outing because there was a hit and a walk, but anytime, you know how much I care about resilience. And anytime you can go second and third with nobody out and be as resilient as Luis Garcia was tonight with 3 straight strikeouts, phenomenal performance. Arguably the player of the game because of that performance. But it did not stop there in terms of the bullpen getting out of some trouble and doing a good job. Matt Moore comes in for Garcia in the 8th. And this is one of the rare opportunities, too, where the Angels actually have an opportunity to do what they want to do in terms of having a lead and going Garcia, Moore, Estevez. I know a couple weeks ago I was saying it should have been Strickland, Moore, Estevez, but boy, has Hunter Strickland fallen off a cliff, and Garcia does the job to hold that double setup spot, I guess the setup of the setup spot for the 7th inning. He seems to have a hold on that position as of now. Then the setup guy is Matt Moore, and he does what Garcia did. He did what Plesac did earlier in the game. He does a leadoff walk to Joey Ortiz. I don't know what the obsession is with leadoff walks, wanting to give me and all of you a heart attack, but he survives the leadoff walk. Gets Yelich to ground out on 2 pitches, gets Willy Adames to ground out on a long at-bat, 7 pitches, ends up just throwing a changeup down the middle on 3-2. But hey, changeup, changes it up on him, forces the ground out, and then Jake Bauers flies out on 3 pitches on a hanging knuckle curve. So it's not like Matt Moore was throwing pitches on the corners every single pitch. Probably got away with 2 off-speed pitches right down the middle. But nonetheless, he responds to a walk with 3 straight outs. Garcia responded to a walk and single, second and third, with 3 straight strikeouts. And then in the 9th, nothing to respond to for Estevez, who continues to all of a sudden go 1, 2, 3 every time he comes out for a save opportunity. Maybe the problem is this guy wasn't getting opportunities And so we would throw him in one every 5 games to get a save and he'd blow it. But now seems like he's had some opportunities here and there, and he continues to be solid. The ERA, like I said, drops to 3.52. He now has 13 saves and 16 opportunities. His name's been floated around the trade market. We'll see what the Angels do with him. Certainly, if you can get anything for him at the deadline, that's what you do when you're still 14 games under 500. But Rhys Hoskins strikes him out, made it look pretty easy. 4 pitches, all in the outside corner. Gets a slider to swing and miss to sit down Hoskins. Frelick flies out on 2 pitches, a high and in fastball. Didn't really catch much of it. And then a long at-bat to Gary Sanchez. Gets ahead 1-2. Then he throws 2 fastballs, both high and low. Don't really love that, to be honest. But then he kind of hangs a slider on 3-2. But Gary Sanchez is not early Yankees Gary Sanchez. He is 2024 Gary Sanchez. And so he pops out to Brandon Drury. And the bullpen goes 3 innings, 3 pitchers, no runs allowed. Rejoice. I know Jose Suarez would not pitch in a game like this, but look what happens when you get rid of him. The vibes improve, and the Angels bullpen, and really the entire Angels pitching staff tonight, looked great. After we take our first break here on the Locked On Angels postcast, I will talk to you about the rest of the pitching staff, that being Zach Plesac, because I was pleased with the start. I think anybody who really considers the circumstances, considers who this guy is, they would be pleased too. We'll talk about that. We'll also respond to some comments after our first break here. You're listening to the Locked On Angels postcast. I'm Gavin Carlson. Angels 5, Brewers 3. We'll be right back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, although those just ended tonight. I guess shout out to the Boston Celtics for becoming the 2024 NBA Finals and NBA champs. But now, summertime still means baseball, and you can bet both baseball and anything else on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from, hopefully you bet on the right Finals MVP. I don't even know who it was because I was watching the Angels game, but bet on everything from who was the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And today's show is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Now look, if you want a great sportsbook, it's FanDuel. If you want great fantasy sports, it is certainly Prize Picks. With Prize Picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. You can now win up to 100 times your money, like I said, but you can do so much more. All you got to do is go more or less and join. You can join over 5 million active members who go more or less every single day, including myself. So get in on the daily action with your friends, including me, and become a part of the Prize Picks community today. We'll talk about my Prize Picks slip later in the show. Did not hit today, but that's okay because the Angels won. But if you've ever watched a postcast, you know how much I talk about Prize Picks. I create a slip every single day. It's so much fun. It adds to the excitement of the game, and you should too. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's LOCKEDONMLB after you download the Prize Picks app for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, picks more, pick less. It's that easy. We are back here on the Locked On Angels postcast on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel live after every single Angels game. And what a fun Angels game today because the Halos win 5-3. We already talked about bye Jose Suarez, DFA'd, hopefully gone from the Angels forever. And the bullpen immediately responds with a perfect 3-inning, 3 different pitcher performance with no runs. But not only was Suarez's absence a good vibe switch for the bullpen, also for the starting pitcher, who ironically was the guy called up for Jose Suarez, that being Zach Plesac. And it's funny because Jose Soriano, was still supposed to be the starter. He was still supposed to be the starter today, but some abdominal pain. Plesac comes up for Suarez, and then next thing you know, he's replacing Soriano and is the starting pitcher of tonight's game. And I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit nervous because that's a lot to worry about. I'm pulling up the stats here. That's a lot to worry about for a guy who has not been great, even in AAA. This season, 3-7 with a 5.42 ERA. So not great. And that's in AAA. And now you're asking him to come in to replace Jose Soriano out of nowhere real quickly, right when you're called up, and put forth a good performance against a very good Brewers team. And for the most part, that's exactly what he did. 3 runs allowed is solid for any starting pitcher, especially today. But to give up 3 runs, to only give up 4 hits, to get 6 innings, just 2 walks, and let's honestly, if a few pitches are not made, you're talking about 1 run allowed, maybe no runs allowed. He gives up 2 home runs and still only gives up 3 runs. We're going to look to the comment section real quick before I break down his outing because comments are popping in and I want to shout you all out. Jeff says, wow, we actually won. Hope we do this tomorrow. Jeff always in here being honest and saying what we're all thinking. Shout out to you. And yes, we actually won. Nick King says, Monday dub. What a start to the week. And he said, more excited about the blow king, that being Suarez, being DFA'd than the win today. Well, let's be excited about both now. Van Awesome back in here. He says, what up, bro, Chacho? Guillermo endearing himself to me with that faceplant tag. We'll get into that. We certainly will. He also did not realize that Suarez was DFA'd. And then RT Caliber, however you say it, says awesome game. And absolutely it was. And it was an awesome game because, like I said, Plesac, despite the odds, despite having to be asked to do a lot when he wasn't even expected to be asked to do anything, comes out and really has a solid performance. The biggest hiccup in the second inning after a 1-2-3 first was whenever you start a game with a leadoff walk or start an inning with a leadoff walk, you know the baseball gods are looking closely at you. And they say, you made a mistake, don't make another, or we'll make you pay. And surely enough, on the next pitch, after the leadoff walk to Willy Adames, with Jake Bauers up, Plesac throws a fastball. It's not even an awful pitch, but it was supposed to be down and away, and instead it was up and away, and Bauers absolutely turned on it. He hit it 99.1 off the bat. Only goes 359 feet, but that's enough to just escape the glove of Joe Adell in right field. And just like that, without getting it out in the second inning, it's already 2-0 Brewers. Now, if you don't know much about Plesac, he's not the modern starting pitcher, let's be honest. The guy we're supposed to see today very much is in Jose Soriano. What makes a good starting pitcher in 2024, at least in my opinion, and probably in the opinion of most? It's a guy who throws hard. It's a guy who throws some sort of ground ball pitch hard. For Soriano, it's a combination of the fastball with the sinker, able to mix in the slider, the changeup, some sort of off speed, right? That's what makes a good starting pitcher in 2024 because you just want to keep the ball down. We know how much the league has changed now, and it's all about hitting home runs and get one guy on base, and then hopefully it's a 2-run shot, right? And so if you have a guy who can throw hard, who can throw some fast pitch that moves, a sinker in at the hands, a curveball down, or a cutter, coming in on a lefty or down and away on a righty, those types of pitches to force ground balls, weak contact, right? Plesac, let's be honest, he's not that guy. He just throws a straight four-seam fastball and he doesn't throw it hard. That's probably both are negatives there, right? Doesn't throw it hard and doesn't have any movement. And so this is one of those cases where if this is a guy like Soriano, who I say, just throw that sinker in the zone, have it going in on, the hands of righties, that's a lot of ground balls, right? Plesac, he just throws a fastball 89 miles an hour. And so you can't really get away with just blindly throwing that pitch in the strike zone to lead off in at bat, right? Or to start in at bat. And that this is a perfect case of that right there. It's supposed to be down and away. And when you just throw a boring four-seam fastball 90 miles an hour, it's got to be right where you want it, or else it's trouble. And this is trouble. It gets up in the zone. You have plenty of time to react to a 90-mile-an-hour fastball compared to a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. And Bauers reacts, gets a pitch he likes, and drills it out to right field. That's the same thing that happened in the only other mistake of the game for Plesac, mistake being the only other run on a home run to Bryce Terang. Same thing. When you only throw 90 miles an hour, that fastball has to be in the right spot. And after going ahead 0-2, he throws a fastball. We skip into the fifth inning, by the way, against Terang. After going ahead 0-2, he throws a high fastball nowhere near. And then on 1-2, he throws a 90-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle. Right? There's the issue again. If you don't have movement on your fastball, and if it's not fast, every time you miss it, there's a chance it's going to go deep. And Terang got all of this one. 105.5 exit velo, 419 feet. And those are the 3 runs from Milwaukee on 2 home runs on 2 fastballs up or down the middle. Other pitchers get away with it if they throw it hard or if they have movement, but Plesac does not. And I think that's why he struggled a bit in AAA. And that's why he's not a guy you're going to rely on to be a starter, let's be honest. But ironically, well, not ironically, first off, I'll say, other than that, it was a great performance from Plesac. Just 4 hits. I just told you 2 of them. And other than that, on those 2 home runs, no runs, gets 6 innings. He mixes in a lot of pitches, gets the curveball mixed in there. The changeup looked good at times. And it's just about, he's the type of guy that you want to eat up innings. You don't want him in big situations where, there's a lot of pressure on, like I said, throwing a fastball right on the corner. But if he can eat up innings just by mixing in a lot of pitches, keeping batters on their toes for the first 2 times through the order, that's good enough. And that's certainly what he did today. 3 earned runs, just 4 hits, 2 walks is not awful. It's not great, but it's not awful. Only 1 strikeout, but that's not what he's going to get you. And that's okay. And certainly his performance today was more than okay. Now, looking forward, what is it going to be for Plesac? Ironically, I think he's going to fill the Jose Suarez spot perfectly. And perfectly meaning he's actually going to do a better job. Not perfectly as in he's going to become the next Black Cat. No, I'm hoping that Plesac can be exactly what Jose Suarez was supposed to be. A failed starter turned into a reliever who can eat up innings in a blowout or in a game where you just need a guy to eat up innings, right? I think Plesac can be that. He showed enough today. I don't want to see him starting many games still, let's be honest. We're still waiting for, guys to get back from injured list in the rotation. Hopefully Jose Soriano's okay, but certainly pleased with what we got from Plesac tonight. Ironically, pleased with Plesac. Hope you like that corny little alliteration from me. But we'll take a quick look at the comments one more time before we take our last break and talk about Zach Neto becoming a rising superstar. Real quick, Nick King says, I pray Anderson starts against the Dodgers this weekend. That would be quite interesting. Just some back and forth between everybody. Van Awesome taking a shot at the Dodgers. Funfetti, City Connects. Now everyone in the comments making fun of that. I agree, Nick King. The Angels do have some of the best City Connects in the league because they didn't try to do too much. Not all this stupid random colors, not all these random designs. Just add a light flare, make the white cream, change up the logo a bit. I agree. Some of the best City Connects in the league for sure are Angels. But with all that being said, we're going to take our last break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. And when we come back, we'll talk about how the Angels scored 5 runs because we've talked about it. 4 runs seems to be that over-under. If the Angels score more than 5, they do pretty well. If they score less than 5, obviously, they don't do well. So, the Angels scored 5. It was enough. We'll tell you how when we come back from our last break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Now, finally, today's show is brought to you by Supply House. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business. And here's my favorite part, folks. Talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. That's right. That's amazing. So join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership. How often do you get a free membership today? Nowadays, by the way. So join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. We are back here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. I'm Gavin Carlson, and the Angels are victorious. 5-3 in a day of great vibes. Jose Suarez, the Black Cat, has been evicted from the Angels roster, DFA'd finally after that embarrassing performance in the series finale against the Giants. He goes down as well as Cole Tucker. In case you missed the roster news for today, Cole Tucker and Suarez DFA'd, and Plesac called up and then immediately thrown in for Jose Soriano as the starting pitcher. And then they also called up Brandon Drury. How nice it was to see him. He did not have the biggest game at the plate. In fact, he went 0 for 3, but he actually made a couple big plays at second base. I also failed to shout out that great play from Luis Rengifo in the bottom of the eighth, to help out Matt Moore at third. He came in, by the way, Luis Rengifo, after leaving yesterday's game early, He did not get the start today, and you're thinking, okay, maybe that means he's going to at least take the day off. Ironically, he comes him to pinch hit, and they're thinking, okay, they're going to let him pinch hit and then take him out. No, then he fields. That kind of confused me a bit. I'm like, is Rengifo hurt enough to not play or not? I guess he was healthy enough to play, but it worked out. It worked out. He got in, he made an impact, and hopefully he healed up that injury just a little bit. But if you look at the thumbnail of today's video, I'm asking, are these the new look Angels? And I'm not saying new look as in this team is suddenly going to win every game they play. I'm certainly not going to say that. But with Brandon Drury back, with Zach Neto red hot, with the Rengifo assuming he gets back in the lineup tomorrow, this team has the potential to start scoring some more runs. And we got 5 today because Nolan Schanuel is really starting to heat up. 2 for 4 today. He had a run. He had an RBI. He's really heating up. We also had an okay performance from the rest of the lineup. Logan O'Hoppe, 1 for 4. He scored one of the runs. But the man of the day certainly was Zach Neto. And I like how this team can bounce back when their starter gives up runs. And in this one, it was in the 3rd inning, responding with a couple hits. We got to give a shout out to Luis Guillermo, by the way. I failed to mention, he had a great performance. I think it was Van Awesome in the comments who said, shout out. Yeah, he said, shout out to Guillermo. He had a great faceplant tag. Zach Neto did a great job getting the Brewers runner in a rundown, and Guillermo made a diving play. But he also, Guillermo, went 2 for 2 with an RBI and a run, and it's because in the 3rd inning, he got a rally started after Zach Neto ground out in a Joe Adell 1-out walk, which shout out to him, a pretty darn good at bat. 9 pitches, he gets a walk. And so with 1 out and a runner on first and a speedy runner on first in Joe Adell, Luis Guillermo absolutely rips one down the right field line on a pretty good pitch to hit, a changeup down and in, rips it over the first baseman's head down the right field line. And the right fielder had quite an issue with this one. Misplayed it off the wall. It hit the wall, then went right past him, closer towards center field. And Adell was able to score pretty easily from first. Originally, they ruled it a double with an error, but I guess they just decided it was a hard play to make. And so it ends up being ruled a triple for Luis Guillermo. Joe Adell scores some first, but that was not all. With Guillermo at first, not a fast guy certainly, but it's pretty easy. You don't got to be fast at all to score on a single from third. And Nolan Schanuel gets a little blooper into right field. Did not hit it super hard on a cutter at the hands, able to rip it over the infield just enough. And Guillermo scores. And after the 2-run shot in the top of the third, after the 2-run shot in the top of the second, the bottom of the third, the Angels are able to respond with 2 runs. And I think that helped with the Plesac start. You know, it's nice to know as a pitcher that if you make some mistakes, your lineup has your back. And just like that, he was able to restart the outing at 2-2 instead of 0-0, instead of being down 2-0. It's 2-2, and he's able to respond. But the Angels lineup was not done at all. And after Plesac's able to have a nice top of the 4th, the vibes are turning around. The vibes were already great without Jose Suarez, and the vibes continued to be great because a 1-out single from Logan O'Hoppe on a ground ball, a tough play for the second baseman. O'Hoppe is able to make contact with 2 strikes and get on base. Brandon Drury flied out, like I said, 0 for 3 in his return, but the man of the game in the Angels lineup was Zach Neto, and he continues to hit a hot bat. 3 home runs in the last 6 games for Zach Neto, and this one was really impressive. A high fastball, not too fast at just 93 miles an hour, but still, anytime it's up and in, you really learn a lot about a hitter, and he absolutely turned on it. 103.2 exit velo, 404 feet, deep to left center field, and that swing, man, that swing certainly looks a lot different than it did earlier in the season. I know we've talked a lot about, I don't know if I've talked about it a lot myself, but certainly the daily podcast guys, the Frisch Bros for Locked On Angels have talked about Neto reworking that swing, sort of alternating when he uses that high leg kick, that shorter leg kick, especially with 2 strikes, definitely shortens the stride a lot. And this was a perfect example. If you have a big stride on a high and in fastball, you are not going to catch up on it. But because the stride on the swing is a little shorter, and because he chokes up on the bat a little bit, he's able to turn the bat quicker, catch up to a fastball high and in, and absolutely rip one. And that swing, man, when he has a home run swing, it looks really, really nice. It really does. He certainly was able to get a home run swing, makes great contact, 103.2 exit velo one more time, 404 feet from Zach Neto. And that was all the Angels needed. They went up 5-2. Plesac just gave up one more solo shot. But hey, how nice it is for a guy to come up in Plesac, give up 2 runs. His team's able to immediately come back and get 2 to tie the game, and then they're immediately able to give him a lead. And that's what happened. And it was suddenly 5-2 Angels. I didn't even mention the Taylor Ward sac fly that made it 3-2 in the third, excuse me. But yes, that made it 3-2. And then Zach Neto with the 2-run shot made it 5-2. And that was all the Angels offense needed. Now, real quick, before we end this postcast, once again, shout out to everybody in here. A lot of people in here. It's always nice to see the support on the postcast when the Angels actually win a game, because the vibes are a lot better, and certainly they're a lot better, with Jose Suarez gone as well. But one more time, I want to ask you guys in the comment section, both right now live and after the fact, let me know, what do you want the Angels to look like, the Angels lineup, to look like going forward? With Brandon Drury back, with Nolan Chaniel swinging a harder bat, with Mickey Moniak suddenly hitting second today, returning to his normal form of 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts, with Joe Adell being a total wild card, with Zach Neto being a rising star, Logan O'Hoppe certainly been great this season, and Rengifo will normally be in the lineup. What do you want it to look like? I'm curious. Do we still want Taylor Ward hitting third? Do we still want Shanuel leading off? I think so. I think we go, and this is my rapid fire, my lineup. I think you go, and this is not righty or lefty. This is just kind of the basic lineup. Shanuel should still lead off. I think he's getting comfortable at that spot. I haven't always loved it at times, but I think he's getting comfortable there. He's a contact hitter. You want him to see as many at-bats as possible in 2024. That average is rising. If you can get it to 230 before the All-Star break, 235 by the end of the season, if you could get it to like 250, that would be great. Shanuel leading off. I think Rengifo at second is great, or batting second is great until you eventually trade him, because I think they are going to get rid of him at the deadline unless they go on some crazy win streak. But Shanuel, Rengifo, Ward. I think it's time to put Logan O'Hoppe at the cleanup spot. That's just me. I think I get it. You like, alternating between Willie Calhoun against the righty or Kevin Pillar against the lefty. But I think it's just time. You say, we believe it, that Logan O'Hoppe is the future of this team. Throw him at the cleanup spot and just let him go to work. That's what I think. Then I like having either Calhoun or Pillar, depending on if it's lefty or righty. And then I think you go Drury, Neto, and then Joe Adell batting ninth. That's just me. I think Zach Neto has certainly been great, or certainly been better, especially with the extra base hits. A lot of doubles, a lot of home runs recently. But I still think having him towards the bottom of the lineup doesn't put too much pressure on him. He already has a lot of pressure to be a great shortstop in the field, and I think he's done that. But let me know what you think the Angels lineup should be going forward with Brandon Drury back officially now, and with Rengifo, assuming he's fine, being back in the lineup going forward. He is fine. Him in the lineup going forward. What do you want the lineup to be? I told you mine. Tell me yours in the comment section on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. But with all that being said, the Angels win on what turns out to be a 2-for-2 day. I thought the Angels did everything they needed to do with the roster changes, finally getting rid of Jose Suarez, finally, in my opinion at least, getting rid of Cole Tucker and adding 2 impact guys, certainly in Brandon Drury, but tonight in Zach Plesac. So great job with the roster changes. Great job with a 5-3 win to open the series. Angels are still 14 games under 500, but they have a chance to win another series. Slowly, the Angels are at least, threatening to win every series they played recently. Really started with that Padres sweep, and since then, they've kind of been competing in every series. I mean, the Mariners series, not so much, but for the most part, winning series openers really makes things easier in terms of winning series. So, with all that being said, we'll leave with Van Austin's lineup for going forward. He says Shanuel, Rengifo, Ward, O'Hoppe, Drury, Pillar, Neto, Moniak, Adell. Pretty similar to mine. Certainly the top 4 are the same. He has Drury 4th. I would prefer Pillar or Calhoun 4th, just because Pillar's been so hot against lefties, and I think I'd rather have Calhoun than Drury, in that spot against righties. But fine there. Then Neto, he has Moniak and Adell. I mean, I don't want to see Moniak too often, let's be honest. But I guess that with the current state of things, that's what we're going to have to see. But I like that. He says maybe switch. Yeah, he just responded and saying maybe switch Drury and Pillar. I probably agree with that. Nick King says, I think Adell needs to miss a couple starts as bad as it's not there right now. I said that a while ago. I think so too. I would not be mad at all with kind of permanent. I think Pillar might just need to permanently replace Adell for a couple games. I agree with you there. And then maybe make Adell and Moniak the guys that you alternate depending on, I'm blanking on the word, platooning. Thank you. Maybe Pillar stays in the lineup every night, and it's Adell and Moniak who platoon. They're young guys who are both struggling brutally. They are brutally struggling, both of them. So why keep throwing them out there? Why keep throwing Adell out there against righties when you know he's not going to do anything, right? Why throw Mickey Moniak out there against lefties? I don't even think they consider doing that. But I get wanting to see Adell swing every night if you're the Angels, but I think put Pilar in there every day, at least right now. Maybe then trade him at the deadline, and then alternate between Adell and Moniak. Platoon those guys depending on the starting lineup. Nick King says, yeah, that would be a lot better. I'm glad you agree with me, right? Pilar's been swinging a hot bat against both sides. The other guys have been swinging a cold bat completely, regardless of the side. So at least only have them against their better sides. But with all that being said, back to having long shows. Got to keep it at 30. That's the goal. I'm going to try to keep it around 30 so I'm not sticking around too long. But we're back to regular things. Don't have to talk about my graduation anymore. That weekend is over. It was great. I'm proud. I'm a UCLA graduate, but I'm also glad that I now have summer and a lot more time. There's going to be stuff coming on the postcast. We're going to have more segments. We're going to start making some graphics. The thumbnails are going to look better. We're going to keep improving this Angels postcast, and hopefully, just hopefully, the Angels can keep improving as a team the same time. So, with all that being said, I'm Gavin Carlson. This was the Locked On Angels postcast, as always, live after every single Angels game on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. Angels 5, Brewers 3, and Jose Suarez is gone. It does not get much better than that. So long, everybody, and I will be back tomorrow, hopefully after another Angels win. Have a great Monday night, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.